Mission Rejected, the story of the world's most secret agents, the backups. Tonight's episode, yours truly, Skip Granger.
Who's there? Show yourselves. I ain't afraid of nothing.
Oh, no?
Who?
Not even of the Spectre?
Oh, not the Spectre.
Yes, you quivering coward. Feel the chill of bird's eye flash-frozen peas.
Oh, thank goodness they're here.
Skip, we got your message. We were in the middle of binging Succession. They say Jeremy's strong his method, but did he ever spend a whole weekend as a French fry? Because I have.
Bowden, Gloria, come in. I was just listening to some old-time radio.
I'll take it. It's our third rewatch. I think Bowden is trying to inception himself into Brian Cox. But you didn't call us to your apartment to listen to the radio. What's going on?
Revelations. The past is speaking to us.
Is Shirley MacLaine here this evening?
Hey, gang. I made coffee.
What an excellent idea, McGrath.
Oh, no. Nobody needs coffee, Skip, at this hour. I got you a plain seltzer.
Ooh, bubbles.
Skip Granger.
Section Chief.
Do you know where I'm supposed to be right now? On a moonlight cruise with my wife. Our first date in over a year. I swear, if this isn't a world-ending emergency, I will eat your soul.
Coffee?
Oh, God bless you.
Good evening, agents.
What are you doing here?
I was told there would be punch and pie.
Thank you all for coming. As you know, ever since the EMF was reconstituted, I have been using my spare time to try and restore the many decades of case files that were damaged when Athena destroyed our old HQ. I came across this file from 1957.
The EMF wasn't even formed until the 60s.
That's correct, Chief. This particular case is originally from the files of the Boston Milford Insurance Company.
We're descended from insurance agents? Ugh. It all makes a kind of a horrible sense.
Skip, why are we here?
Admiral H.R.R. Fletcher, the Oceanologists, Project Black Ink, we've had all the answers this whole time and we never even knew it. It's all right here in this file.
Skip, this is just an expense report.
I know, but when I look at this, I can read it like a piece of music. I see the whole case play out, like an old radio show.
From Hollywood, the adventures of the man with the world's most accurate expense account. It's...
Yours truly, Johnny Onebuck. Tonight, a full account and reconciliation of my expenses related to the Maneater MacGuffin. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in the City of Angels when I got a call from an old friend on the coast.
Hey, Onebuck. Lilith LaFluer, Boston Milford Insurance Company.
Lily! Well, to what do I owe this pleasure?
Does the name Horace Maneater ring any bells?
Maneater. Oh yes, the famous nuclear scientist and art collector down in D.C. Died under mysterious circumstances about 6 months ago. Left his entire estate to his much younger wife. That Maneater?
Yeah, that's the one.
This isn't a belated life insurance claim, is it? Hard to put that genie back in the bottle once you've uncorked it.
No, it's a robbery, Johnny.
Robbery?
Yeah, robbery. You got putty in your ears, Onebuck?
As a matter of fact, I do. 1 second. Now, so, you were saying, robbery?
Boston Milford insured every piece of art in the Maneater collection, including his rarest piece, a statue of the Roman god Neptune. Per Horace's will, it was due to be donated to the Smithsonian Institute next week. We valued it at over $2 million.
That's a whole lot of cabbage. But robbery is robbery. You gotta pay out. That's the whole idea of insurance.
Not if it's an inside job, it's not. Maybe the widow Maneater didn't like the idea of handing 2 million big boys over to the government. Maybe she staged the whole thing so she could drop it on the black market and walk away with the cheddar.
All right. What do you want me to do about it?
Go down there, check things out. Feel out the widow Maneater, snoop around, ask some questions, and find that statue so we can bring it home to Uncle Sam.
Sure. And save Boston Milford a big payday.
Wouldn't hurt.
D.C. is a long way from L.A. I trust this is all going on my expense report?
You got it, Onebuck.
Well, this sounds like a big case. I'm gonna need to bring along my girl Friday, Saturday.
You got a girl Friday, Saturday.
That's right, Miss Friday, Saturday. She's my assistant, best in the business. I want all her expenses paid too.
All right, Onebuck, just get going. We're sending you and Friday, Saturday to D.C. via our private plane out of Burbank. I'll be in touch when you get to D.C.
Friday, I need you.
Be there in a jiff, Johnny. What's up, Mr. Onebuck?
Pack your bags, Friday. We're headed to the birthplace of our nation.
Philadelphia?
Washington, D.C.
But that's not...
A state? No, it's a district. And it's been robbed. We're on the red eye, so you'll have to tell your fella you can't make your date tonight.
I don't have a fella, Johnny. You know that.
Well, maybe you'll meet one at the Lincoln Memorial. A nice, honest man named Abe.
That's a weird thing to say, Johnny.
My first expense, $1.47 for a cab fare from my apartment to Burbank County Airfield. The driver's name was Stan. He smelled like cheap cologne and expensive beef jerky. Friday was there waiting. She'd spent $1.15 on her cab and 2 bits in a box of old Mississippi menthol lipstick.
I could sleep all the way to D.C., tell you that.
You might just get the chance. I heard the in-flight movie is a Bergman picture. Say, Friday, what do you know about the widow Maneater?
Martinique Maneater, darling of the D.C. social scene, known for her Paris fashion and her cocktail parties, met her late husband while he was overseas during the war. They came over here after the shooting stopped, already hitched.
And then he died. Short honeymoon.
They were married 7 years, Johnny.
Maybe he got the 7-year itch, if you know what I mean.
I do not.
Who do we know in D.C., Friday? Someone who can give us the lowdown on this Maneater broad?
There's Senator Monday. He still owes you for proving he didn't kill that Democrat.
You know I can't stand Monday, Friday. I know. We'll call Scraps.
Scraps?
Sure, Scraps Turkleson, my old war buddy. He runs a saloon over on D Street. He'll give it to us straight, the story and the whiskey. Expense item number 4, 3 dirty martinis and a pack of Lucky Strikes on board the plane. I'm old enough to remember when a drink and a smoke were compliments of the captain, but I guess those days are long gone. We landed in D.C. bright and early Sunday morning and were met by an unfriendly face.
You Johnny Onebuck?
Yeah, who's asking?
Detective Holliday, D.C. Metro Police. I understand you're looking into the Maneater robbery.
That's right. What can you tell me?
I could tell you everything you need to know, but I won't. I don't like private dicks sticking their nose in police matters.
Now see here, Johnny Onebuck ain't anybody's private dick.
I'm in the insurance game, Holiday. I'm just here to balance the books.
You better. I'm about to blow this case wide open. The robbery and the murder.
The murder?
Don't play dumb, Missy. Everybody knows Maneater was bumped off by his bride. You listen to me, bub. If you get in my way, I'll come down on you like a sack of potatoes.
All right, Inspector, you've made your point. I'll keep my nose clean.
You better, dick.
Expense item, $1 even plus a 25-cent gratuity for a yellow cab to Scrat's Saloon, where I was hoping for a warmer welcome than we'd gotten from the local constabulary.
Sorry, we don't open till noon.
Not even for an old friend?
Why, it's Johnny Onebuck. What the devil brings you to this gin joint?
Oh, just business, Scraps. Listen, I want you to meet Miss Friday Saturday, my number 2.
Hello, Mr. Turkleson.
Please, call me Scraps. Can I get you 2 a drink?
Club soda for me, Scraps.
I'll take a rusty nail with a vodka chaser.
Friday, it's 10 in the morning.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Johnny.
My kind of dame.
Say, Scraps, what do you know about this Maneater business?
Shoulda known you'd be messed up in that, Johnny. Poor old Horace, gone before his time, leaving a young widow with a big house full of expensive art.
Seems kind of weird, doesn't it? A scientist whose real passion is art?
Old Horace fancied himself an artist, but his stuff? Let's just say my grand-aunt Sally can do better, and she's blind as a Bolivian bat. Since he couldn't make art, he filled his house with art.
Art that's suddenly gone missing.
I know what it looks like, Johnny. Trust me, the whole town's whispering the same thing.
But you aren't buying it.
Not a word of it. Martinique's an okay dame in my book.
You know her well, then?
Well enough. Lady likes to give a cocktail party. Likes to have me being the one stirring the cocktails.
Is that all you're stirring, Scraps?
It ain't like that, lady. I'm just a good bartender, that's all.
Easy, Scraps, easy. Friday's just doing her job.
So are you, Scraps. This is a darn good rusty nail. Darn good.
Best in town. Anywho, as I say, the usual gossips are pointing the finger at the widow, saying she's trying to keep the money for herself rather than see the piece go in the museum for free.
Well, that's what Boston Milford suspects. Sells the piece and collects on the insurance, on top of Horace's life insurance she already collected. Talk about sitting pretty.
But that doesn't gel with me. Old Horace was already a rich man, left everything to her. What's one statue when you've got that kind of dough?
$2 million by our estimate.
Gadzooks, that ugly thing? I had no idea. Nah, I still don't buy it. Martinique hated that statue. Said it gave her the willies something fierce. She used to make Horace put it in the closet during parties. Spooky.
That is peculiar. Say, Scraps, could you make an introduction for us to the widow Maneater? She might be more willing to talk if we come with your stamp of approval.
Not a problem. I was actually on my way over there this afternoon anyway.
I thought you said it was a business relationship, Scraps.
And I wasn't lying. Lady just ordered a case of gin, and I'm delivering.
Lady's got a gin habit?
Compulsive party thrower. Nearly went through a whole case at the last shindig. Come on, I'll drive us over.
Friday's drink was 75 cents. Scraps wanted it to be on the house, but I told him no expense went unclaimed when it came to Boston Milford. We arrived at Maneater Manor just after 11:30.
I'll ring the bell. We'll have to get through Mrs. Driskill, the housekeeper. Last of the old Great Danes, if you know what I mean.
Yes?
Hey, Mrs. Driskill! I brought the gin order.
You should have brought it to the back entrance as usual, Mr. Turkleson.
Well, I also brought some guests to see Mrs. Maneater. They're from her insurance agency.
Very well. Come in. Please bring the gin to the kitchen. I'll fetch Mrs. Maneater. Who, may I say, is calling?
Johnny Onebuck and Miss Friday Saturday, on behalf of Boston Milford Insurance Company. Here's my card.
Please be seated in the parlor.
Make yourselves at home, kids. I'll go put this gin in the pantry.
Wow, this is some swank joint. I guess it's true what they say. Nuclear physics is where all the money is.
Who says that, Johnny?
They all say it, Miss Saturday. They all say it.
Mrs. Maneater, I presume.
Please. Martinique.
All right, Martinique. Johnny Onebuck. I'm here on behalf of Boston Milford Insurance Company.
Well, I don't suppose that means you've brought me my check.
Well, no. Just need to look into a few things, dot a few I's, cross a few T's.
Are you going to dot my eye, Mr. Onebuck?
Should I, Mrs. Maneater?
Please don't. I'm right here.
I know what people are saying. They think I stole that horrid statue, but it's not true, I tell you. I don't need the money. Horace left me all that I need and more.
You don't seem to be too broken up by his passing.
Horace was a man obsessed with his work. Almost from the moment we were married, all he'd ever think about were his projects. He'd be at the office all hours of the night or locked in his study right here.
Well, nuclear physics is important work. It won the war.
You misunderstand the nature of my husband's work. He was a metallurgist. What sort of metals could absorb what kind of particles, that sort of thing. His work was crucial to our nuclear advancements during the war. But lately, he was consulting for some company or another.
The military-industrial complex has been snapping up all of our great minds.
I could never get him to tell me what he was working on. He only ever called it the project. Still, he gave me a comfortable life, and I shall never forget him.
Life a little more convenient without him, then?
Whether it is or not, Mr. Onebuck, I didn't kill him. And your bosses at the insurance company agree with me. That check cleared months ago. But this robbery seems to be an entirely different story.
Well, 2 big claims in 6 months. You could imagine how that could make Lily LaFluer a little nervous.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
All right. Calm down. Just walk me through the night of the robbery.
I'll never forget it. It was a Friday night, the same night as that terrible storm blew in off the harbor. I'd been hosting one of my little soirees that night, and I'm afraid I'd made a terrible fool of myself.
How so?
It was that statue. I'd kept it out in honor of Horace, but it was as if I could feel its eyes on me, even speaking to me. Oh, it was horrible. I got so upset I cried out and told it to shut up right here in the living room, at which point the party broke up. Oh, I had Mrs. Driskill bring me a cup of tea in the bedroom, with a splash of whiskey to help calm my nerves.
And what time was that?
About 10 o'clock.
All right. Then what happened?
I am not sure. I think I drifted off for a bit. I heard the sound of glass breaking, and it startled me awake. I was so groggy from the whiskey, I can't be sure, but...
But what, Mrs. Maneater?
I swear I saw Horace, right here in my bedroom, like some terrible specter.
You're saying you saw a ghost?
I'm saying I can't be sure what I saw. I must have fainted because the next thing I remember is waking up the next day. Oh, what does it matter? I didn't expect you to believe me.
There now, Miss Maneater. There.
About the robbery, Mrs. Maneater.
As I was getting dressed, I heard Mrs. Driskill scream. I ran downstairs and found that the very window you're standing in front of now had been smashed in and we'd been burgled.
And the only thing that was taken was the statue of Neptune?
Yes. Mrs. Driskill did a thorough inventory. It's the only thing that's missing. You have to believe me, Mr. Onebuck. I didn't steal that statue. I hate it. I'm glad it's gone. It's cursed, I tell you. Everyone told me I was wrong, that I was crazy, but I'm not. I am not.
Good heavens! What's the matter?
There, Martinique, there. Dry your eyes, chin up now. I don't think you're crazy.
You don't?
Of course not.
Well, that makes one of us.
Come along, dear. Let's get you back to bed. I'll fix you a nice pot of tea. Mr. Onebuck, if you'll show yourself out.
Please go, Johnny. But call me later with what you've learned.
I'll call tonight.
I'll be by the phone.
I'll be the one dialing.
I'll be the one answering.
I'll be the one vomiting.
Come on, Friday. Let's go find Scraps.
Johnny, over here.
You weren't kidding, Scraps. The Widow Maneater is one upright dame.
Says who?
I've got a feeling for this sort of thing, Friday.
Yeah, you've got a feeling, all right, and it's that your trousers are too tight.
Listen, you gotta see what I found in the kitchen while I was putting away the ladies' gin.
Somebody's business card. Delaware Smith, Department of Archaeology and Geology, Marshall College.
You think she's got something to do with the theft, Scraps?
Could be. She's got quite the reputation for being a treasure hunter. Been in the papers, too. Apparently needed a little of Uncle Sam's help after she took some ancient pottery or something without asking the natives.
Could be you're onto something. Tell you what, why don't you and Friday go check her out?
And what are you going to do, Johnny?
I think it's time I had another little chat with the friendly Detective Holiday.
We'll be back with more Yours Truly, Johnny Onebuck, after this message from our sponsor.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Ridley Randolph Fletcher, author of such popular paperbacks as It Came From Beneath the Sea, Sugar Babies from Outer Space, The Communists Next Door, and millions of others. I'd like to talk to you today about my revolutionary self-actualization process known as oceanetics. Do you suffer from sleepless nights? A lack of vigor and vim at the ballpark or in the bedroom? Do you, like so many others, lie awake at night knowing that there is something deep within you that lays untapped down in the abyss of your soul? If so, I invite you to join me and my oceanologist brothers and sisters on the path to enlightenment. My book, Oceanetics, will guide you towards salvation for just 4 simple payments of $9.99. Not available where books are sold. Find us on a street corner or Sunday rummage sale near you. And remember, become one with the ocean.
And now, Act 2 of Yours Truly, Johnny Onebuck.
Though I never like a free ride when I can expense it, Scraps was kind enough to run me over to the local homicide division, where I was greeted by a desk sergeant with an Irish brogue as heavy as the smell of whiskey on his breath.
Oh, tut. Can I help you, lad?
I'm looking for Detective Holiday. The name's Onebuck, Boston Milford Insurance. Here's my card.
Oh, for the love of Mike. Everyone and their mother wants to talk to him today. Well, you're in luck. He just got back from lunch. Oi, Holiday, you got yourself a visitor over here.
What do you want, Onebuck? I'm a busy man.
Just a quick question, Holiday. Did your men dust for prints on Maneater's broken window the night of the robbery?
What do you take me for, a rookie? Of course we did. The only prints we found belonged to the people who lived in the house.
The housekeeper?
Driskill, yeah.
And the widow Maneater?
Yeah.
And Mr. Maneater?
Of course, it was his house, moron. You insurance dicks. Why don't you leave the investigating to us big boys?
You were the one who found Horace Maneater's body, right?
Right. He'd been in the water a long time. Salt corrodes, fish get hungry, but it was him. He was wearing Maneater's clothes, and he had his wallet on him.
All right. Thanks.
Listen to me, Onebuck. Stay out of this. Your insurance company wants to keep their money? Leave it to me. They may even get their life insurance claim on Horace back if I can pin it on Martinique. Just back off. You have no idea what you're up against. If they...
Holiday, me boyo. Phone call for you. It's the Chief. Better say goodbye to Mr. Onebuck now.
See? They're always listening. Get lost, Onebuck. I don't want to see you again.
My encounter with Holiday left me a little shook, and with more questions than I had answers. Expense item number 14, a cup of deep black joe from Norma's Diner, and then a cab over to Marshall College, where Scraps and Friday were already interviewing Professor Delaware Smith.
Wowzers.
Professor, your whip technique is staggeringly good.
Thanks. Picked it up on my honeymoon with my clown of a first husband.
Where did you honeymoon? The Amazon?
No, a circus school. Like I said, he was a clown. Now, was there something you two wanted, or should I move on to pies down the trousers?
Well, since you're offering...
Scraps.
Sorry.
We're investigating the theft of the Neptune statue from the widow Maneater. Found your business card in her kitchen. Got anything to say?
Sure. Mrs. Driskill makes a swell cup of warm milk.
Cut the malarkey, Delaware. You're an international treasure hunter with a debt to pay. She's a lady with an international treasure worth a fortune. Doesn't take much to put 2 and 2 together.
Oh, please. If I had taken it, I certainly wouldn't have left you a trail of breadcrumbs right to my door. Besides, I never would have stolen it from Martinique.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It belongs in a museum, which is why it's going to the Smithsonian alongside all your favorite Monet.
Interior after dinner. Gets me every time.
Professor Delaware, can you think of anyone who would have wanted to steal the statue?
Well, Oh.
Don't mind me, Professor. Johnny Onebuck, here's my card. Now just answer the question.
Well, the statue itself is artistically unremarkable. The carving is crude and not particularly detailed. If you saw it in a tourist trap market in Rome, you wouldn't think twice.
And yet, it's valued at $2 million.
I said artistically it was uninteresting. In terms of provenance, it's fascinating. It's carved from a piece of space rock that fell to Earth a century or so back. Old Horace discovered it had a unique crystalline structure running all throughout it. Now, I've got some experience with geology, but I've never seen anything like it.
And this thing came from Italy?
I don't think so. Like I said, the craftsmanship was too poor. Sure, it's a statue of the Roman god Neptune, but it's not like any ancient tribute I've ever seen. Now, why someone would take a hunk of rock from space and carve the god of the ocean out of it? Again, I couldn't say.
And now, just to be clear, why was your card at the Maneater estate?
I'd consulted with Horace a few times about different pieces in his collection. In fact, before he died, we'd been planning an excursion down south together to try and find some new pieces.
And you stayed on friendly terms with Martinique after his death?
Friendly enough, but it was Mrs. Driskill that took my card. She was worried those stuffed shirts at the Smithsonian were running some sort of scam on the widow. Wanted me to talk Martinique out of donating it. Oh, would you excuse me? I've got an appointment.
All right. Thank you for your time, Professor Smith.
Out the back door, if you don't mind. Don't need the department chair asking what a couple of private eyes were doing snooping around.
Insurance investigator, but as you wish.
All right, they're gone.
What did you tell them?
The truth, but not all of it.
Excuse me, Professor, I left my hat. Oh, pardon me.
This is my colleague, Dr. Lippman. Lippman, this is Johnny Onebuck.
Pleased to meet you, Dr. Lippman. Here's my card.
Forgive me, I'd shake your hand, but...
Oh, yes, I see. Well, that's a lot of bandages.
Accidents happen.
If they didn't, I'd be out of business. Insurance. I'm investigating the Maneater art robbery.
Oh, you don't say.
I do say. Do you know anything about it, Dr. Lippman?
No, of course not. Just rumors.
I don't see a hat in here, Mr. Onebuck.
Funny. Guess I wasn't wearing one. Good day, doctors.
Did you see who she was talking with, Johnny?
Yeah, said it was her colleague, a Dr. Lippman.
Said?
Nothing about this case is sitting right with me. Did she really say that the statue was carved out of rock from outer space?
See you in hell, Onebuck.
Friday, Scraps!
He's
Look
got
out!
a gun!
He's got a gun!
Get down!
Dang it, he got away. Friday, are you alright?
I am, but Scraps is hurt.
They got me, Johnny. They got me good.
You're gonna be okay, Scraps.
Yeah, sure, Scraps. You got it worse than Japan, remember?
Sure, Johnny. I remember.
I'll call for help.
You sure you're all right, Friday?
You saved me, Scraps.
First good thing I've done with my life. Too bad it was the last thing I did.
Don't you go to sleep on me, Scraps. Stay with me, Scraps. Come on.
Friday, take my handkerchief. Apply pressure to that wound. I'll keep his head up. Help will be here soon.
Who would do such a thing, Johnny?
I don't know, Friday, but I'm starting to paint a picture, and it's a damn ugly one.
We'll be back with the conclusion of yours truly, Johnny Onebuck, after this message.
Hello again, friends. Bosun H.R.R. Fletcher here with a special limited-time offer to listeners of this program. Join me live in person this Sunday night at the world-famous Showertorium, where for the first time anywhere, I will be demonstrating the glorious mental powers bestowed upon me by practicing oceanology. I shall predict the weather, prophesy salmon spawning patterns for the next decade. I shall even correctly identify what color tie I am wearing from memory. You will be so astonished that you will want to be the first to buy my new book, The Ocean and Me, One Man's Journey to Blind Enlightenment, and you can too. Tickets will be granted only to those with the most advanced craniums, so head straight to the box office and bring a tape measure. See you Sunday night, and until then, become one with the ocean.
And now, the riveting conclusion of yours truly, Johnny Onebuck. Remember, kids, drink your Ovaltine.
The ambulance had taken Scraps to Sisters of Mercy Hospital. I told the doctors there to send all bills and expenses to the Boston Milford Insurance Agency. I'd dragged Scraps into this, after all. The doctors were split on whether or not Scraps would live to see the morning. Either way, I was determined to wrap this case up that night. I called Martinique Maneater and asked her to host a rather intimate cocktail party. The occasion? Unmasking a criminal.
Johnny, I've been so worried about you. I've heard about Scraps. Is he going to be all right?
Scraps is tough. It's going to be a long night, but I think he'll pull through.
And if he doesn't, by God, I will personally see to it that whoever is responsible gets the book thrown at them. A big one. Like Gone with the Wind.
Shall we go into the parlor? Everyone is here.
After you, Martinique.
Good evening, everyone. I believe you know Mr. Onebuck and Miss Saturday.
Well. Look at this lineup, Friday. Mrs. Driskill.
Mr. Onebuck.
Detective Holliday.
Onebuck.
Professor Smith.
Still haven't found your hat, I see.
Yes, the gang's all here. Except... No, wait. Someone is missing.
Yes, Mr. Turkleson. We've heard there was an accident.
Gunned down in the street like a dog is hardly an accident, Mrs. Driskill.
No, I don't mean Scraps. Mrs. Maneater, did you pass on my invitations exactly as I asked you to?
Of course I did, Johnny. To the person.
Then I wonder, Professor Delaware, if you failed to pass that invitation on to Dr. Lippman. I so wanted to talk to him more about his accident.
Dr. Lippman is a very important man at the college. He is far too busy for the likes of you, and he's got nothing to do with any of this.
Indeed. Holiday, you're an important man in this town.
I guess.
And all the important men in this town know all the other important men in this town. Isn't that right? Elks Club, City Council, Bowling League, things like that.
I suppose.
So you must know this Dr. Lippman, who's such an important man down at Marshall College.
I can't know everybody, Onebuck. It's a big city.
Dr. Lippman is well known in academic circles.
Well, that's a hell of a thing, because while we were at the hospital waiting to hear if Scraps had drawn his last breath, Miss Friday Saturday here flipped through the phone book. Not a single Lippman in the whole thing.
He's unlisted.
Sure. Could be. Martinique. Excuse me, Mrs. Maneater. Your late husband was a marshalman, wasn't he?
Yes, he lectured there.
Would you happen to have a college directory?
Why, yes, it's right here by the phone.
Be a dear and find Dr. Lippman's number, would you? I'd love for him to join us.
Lipopolis? Lipsburg? Lipschitz? No Lippman. Johnny, What's going on here?
It will become clear in a moment. Mrs. Driskill, how often do you dust this room?
Every day, sir.
You seem like a lady who takes pride in her work. Not someone who would only do a job halfway. Like, say, not dust the windowsill.
What sort of person do you take me for, Mr. Onebuck? I keep this house spotless for the man-eaters.
So you would never, say, skip a week or two between dustings?
I would sooner spit on my mother's grave. I clean those windows every day.
Johnny, what's all this got to do with the stolen statue?
Well, if we believe Mrs. Driskill is telling the truth, and I think we must, then it seems nearly impossible that a set of Horace Maneater's prints could be on that window the night of the robbery, 6 months after his death.
That must be some sort of mistake.
I don't think so. Mrs. Driskill isn't the only person here good at their job. Detective Holliday ain't half bad either, and he told me himself about what he found.
Drop it, Onebuck. You've got nothing to go on.
As a matter of fact, you're a bit of a forensics expert, aren't you? Being a cop in D.C., you must have access to the best minds in the field, maybe even some training from the FBI.
I know what I'm talking about, sure.
So tell me, a window pane of this size and thickness, it would take a considerable amount of force to break it, yes?
Sure.
And you didn't find evidence of a rock or brick or any trace of any object thrown through this window?
No. My conclusion was that it had been broken by somebody's hand.
Indeed. That must have hurt.
Glass of this type, force required, even with your hand in a glove or wrapped in a cloth, you're likely to get glass embedded in your skin. Or more likely, a nasty cut.
A nasty cut just like the one the mysterious Dr. Lippman has. Isn't that right, Delaware?
Dr. Lippman had surgery for his carpal tunnel.
That's odd. He told me it was an accident.
Yes, it was a terrible typewriter accident.
It's all right, Delaware. You don't have to pretend anymore.
Who are you? How did you get in my house?
Why, he's got a key, Martinique. Isn't that right, Dr. Lippman? Or should I say, Horace Maneater?
All right, Onebuck. You're too clever.
Oh, my.
Too clever by half.
Horace!
Martinique, forgive me.
But why? What's going on? Is that the statue?
Yes. I never let it out of my sight now.
I don't understand. Horace, why did you stage your death? And why did you come back? Was life with me so terrible, and that statue so wonderful?
No, my dear. It wasn't anything like that. I suppose you can explain it all, Mr. Onebuck.
Well, it was clear to me almost from the start that you had robbed your own house. I assumed that you meant to sell the statue on the black market. Use the $2 million to start a new life. With no prenuptial agreement, maybe that seemed cheaper and easier than a divorce.
Shameful. You're better off, Mrs. Maneater.
No, you have it all wrong. I did it all to protect her. As long as that statue was in the house, we were in terrible danger.
I've heard enough. Horace Maneater, I'm taking you downtown.
No, Mr. Onebuck, you can't let them take me.
He's an insurance investigator. He has no authority here.
Well, hold on, Holiday. I do have authority over the recovery of that statue. And I'd like to hear Mr. Maneater's story.
As would I.
Do you remember my trip to Antarctica?
Of course. You brought the statue back from that trip.
I was sent there as a consultant to investigate a long-shuttered project known as Black Ink.
Horace, don't.
I have to, Delaware. Black Ink was a joint venture of the Army Signal Corps of Engineers and the Haloid Company to develop imminent signal theory, machine-powered telepathy. Something went terribly wrong, and the project's compound partially sank into the ice. However, there remains great interest in reviving the project, and I was sent out to evaluate the status of the abandoned test site. What I found there... My God, Martinique. I have witnessed firsthand the awesome power of splitting the atom, but this was beyond even my comprehension, and I knew it should never be unleashed.
That's enough.
No, I still haven't heard about the statue.
The project was built on the site of a crashed meteorite. The original researchers believed that the properties of the meteor enhanced the telepathic abilities on the machine and its test subjects. As an expert in rare metals and their atomic properties, I was chosen to investigate. As a man of science, I was very skeptical, but from the moment I set foot in that wretched station, I knew it was true. With very little effort, I could focus my mind to anywhere I wanted. I could even hear my beloved Martinique, a world away, and yet as clear as if she were in the room with me.
Oh, Horace!
But there was another voice there, buried underneath, and it wanted power. Freedom. I could feel it wrapping itself around my mind like great tentacles. I concluded that the meteor was acting like some sort of antenna for the machine, drawing in signals from beyond our reality. It had to be stopped. I chiseled as much away of it as I could. I used my limited skills as an artist and carved it into a Roman statue so I could get it back into the country unnoticed. I trusted only Delaware Smith with my knowledge. Together we tried to study the rock, find a way to neutralize it. I thought as long as it was under my care, the project couldn't continue.
What changed?
Threats.
You got enough for your report. Let's go, Maneater.
Threats.
I said let's go.
Threats from people trying to start the project again.
Stop talking and start walking.
Powerful people, connected people.
I said stop talking.
People like the Detective Holiday.
Holiday!
Freeze, Onebuck!
Johnny, look out!
Holiday, you wouldn't!
You don't understand. I don't want to. They're making me. The chief, I'm sorry, Onebuck, but I told you to stay out of it.
Bullseye!
Good heavens, Mr. Turkleson.
Scraps, you're alive!
Alive and just in time.
And still the best shot in town.
Horace! Horace! Talk to me!
Put him down.
Forgive me, Martinique. I should have just destroyed the statue. I thought it would be safe in the Smithsonian. You see, no one knew the statue and the meteor were the same except Delaware and I. And with my death, I thought the secret would die with me. Until
I said I could hear the statue talking to me at the party. Oh, Horace, forgive me. I didn't know. Oh, Johnny, what am I going to do?
Listen up, everybody. What we just witnessed can never leave this room. Scraps, you still tight with Gary over at the Bureau?
Owes me more than one favor.
He'll do the cleanup. I'll make sure that the word of Horace Maneater's resurrection and second death never reaches the Boston Milford Insurance Company. The widow Maneater can keep her payout.
Johnny, you'd fake a report?
Maybe I been around the block one too many times, Friday.
Jeepers, Johnny.
We'll say Holiday was the thief all along, and Scraps shot him trying to protect me when I exposed him.
It ain't the gospel truth, but it's close enough for me.
But that statue has got to go to the Smithsonian. I can lie once, but twice might just break me.
It's for the best. Under the watchful eye of the U.S. government right next to your favorite Gauguin.
Breton girls dancing. Breathtaking.
Scraps, make the call to Gary. Martinique, you probably shouldn't be here when the G-men come. Could I buy you a drink at Scraps? On my expense account, of course.
I think I'd like that.
Wonderful.
What do you say, Friday? Another rusty nail?
For starters.
There is one thing I don't understand. Detective Holiday wasn't at my party. How did he know about the statue?
Half of D.C. was here that night, Mrs., and we didn't know them all. Why, Senator Monday was here with that strange international delegation, or what about the police commissioner? He kept eyeing you up like you were a side of beef. I bet it was that shady devil.
Conspiracies are a tangled web. Someone at your party was in cahoots with Holiday. But we may never know who. Mrs. Driskill, you'll let the FBI in?
Of course, sir.
You're an all-right dame, Mrs. Driskill.
I need a drink, and I need a strong one.
I do need a stiff drink.
Oh, you sure know your
drinks,
drinks,
kid.
kid. Follow me.
It's going to be on my expenses bill.
Chief, this is Swabby Driskill. Holiday failed. The statue is moving to the Smithsonian.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Final item, $7 even for just about everything on the cocktail menu at Scrap Saloon. This will be my final report to the Boston Milford Insurance Company. This case has opened my eyes to the fact that there are threats to our way of life from without and within. Threats I assumed we'd defeat during the war, but linger in the murky depths that we chose not to swim in. I think I'll have a little chat with my old friend Senator Monday about facing those threats with extraordinary force. Grand total, $377.50. Yours truly, Johnny Onebuck. And that's the story I get from this expense report. A few years later, the Admiral stole the statue from the Smithsonian, and by 1962, Mrs. Claribel Driskill was the head recruiter for the oceanologist movement.
What happened to Johnny?
He ended up with Martinique Maneater. They got married and got out of the investigations business, but he started a legacy that we carry out today. He gave a full report of the case to Senator Monday and laid the seeds for the formation of the EMF.
What? No way. Johnny and Martinique? That doesn't make any sense. He was totally in love with Friday Saturday.
What?
Oh, no.
I got more of a brother-sister vibe. Now, Scraps. Oh, he sounded like a dreamboat.
I couldn't agree more, Gloria. I'd love to play him in the movie. Skip, are the life rights available to this? I can make a few calls.
Agent Granger, as unusually entertaining an evening as this was, what in God's name does a decades-old case have to do with today? Even if it did involve oceanologists.
Don't you see, Section Chief? The statue! It's the same one Moldrake wanted us to recover. I can't say I regret ignoring that request, but I will have to pay the consequences.
What consequences? Skip, what are you seeing in this file that the rest of us aren't?
The Admiral has the statue. The statue was a core component of Project Black Ink. I think the Admiral is going to try to unleash whatever Horace Maneater was afraid of. And if we're going to stop him...
You can't be serious.
We have to go to Antarctica!
Hard pass. Now, what was that about punch and pie?
Mission Rejected was created by Pete Barry, J. Michael DeAngelis, and John Dowgin. This episode was written and directed by J. Michael DeAngelis. It starred Chris Klaniecki as Skip Granger and Johnny Onebuck, Nazli Sarpkaya as Mackenzie McGrath and Martinique Maneater, Dave Stanger as Bowden Montcrief and Scraps Turkleson, Paige Klaniecki as Gloria Kovak and Miss Friday Saturday, Faith Dowgin as Section Chief Zelda Anders and Miss Driskill, with Kirk White as Chet Phillips, Detective Holiday, and Mr. Doe, and Kevin McGrath as the Mission Voice and the Narrator. Also starring Ashley Banks as Athena O'Brien and Delaware Smith, Jill Ivey as Lillian LaFluer, and Bob Killion as the Spectre and the Admiral. Guest starring J. Michael DeAngelis as old-time radio villains, Pete Barry as the Desk Sergeant, and John Dowgin as Dr. Libman. Music, sound editing, and mixing by Pete Barry. Normally, this is where I would make a pithy plea for you to join us on Patreon, follow us on social media, or join the Discord. But these credits are long enough, and I don't get paid by the word. Or at all, now that one mentions it. This has been a Porch Room production, copyright 2022, Extraordinary Missions Limited.
I have come so far. Across treacherous snow and ice, I come at last to my final destination. I think. Better ask the old crystal if I'm in the right place. Let's see here.
Well done, Admiral. We've come home.
Oh, why, thank you, Mr. Doe. I couldn't have done it without you.
I know. In fact, we would have been here months ago if you had listened to me from the start.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Doe. If I could offer a bit of feedback, maybe tell Xerox that an email would have done just as well as psychic hallucinations.
Just open the door.
Quite right, Mr. Doe. It's time to seize our destiny.
Surprise!
Oh, Chet Phillips! Is it really you? The real you?
You know what? I'm not even going to ask. I'm tired of your insane ramblings. I'm bringing you in. Arms up.
We seem to be at a bit of an impasse. You with your gun aimed at me, and me with my harpoon aimed at you. Tell me, Agent Phillips, how did you know I'd come here?
Let's just say the ex still has feelings for me.
Yes, and that feeling is loathing. But Antarctica's #1 fan, Cassandra Helsinki, told us all about Project Black Ink.
Do you have Helsinki?
Oh, she locked herself in her office bedroom thing. She's not going anywhere.
It seems fitting that you're both here with me now, at the culmination.
Listen to me, Admiral. Whatever you think needs to be done here, you and Helsinki are both wrong. I know all about Black Ink. It's not what you think it is. Athena is taking care of Cassandra as we speak. You're coming with me. Shoot him. Put the harpoon down, and you and I are going to walk out of here.
Shoot him.
You think I'm your enemy. You think Athena is the problem. Buddy, we're not even the tip of the iceberg.
Shoot him and bring him to me!
Chet. Chet?
Sorry, Chet. Seems you triggered me.
Chet?